Today we're going to talk about the craziness that is the NFL free agency period. Tell us in the comments below who is your favorite signing and who had the biggest bump in their fantasy draft stock.
Hello and welcome to the Last Place Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Ryan, and I am here with my two co-hosts today, Josh and Ethan. Josh, it's nice to have you back on. Although it's just for this episode, it's a big episode to go through. We're going to be going through free agency, and it's been a
Because holy cow, holy crap.
absolute wild week,
Yeah.
We
and we've
statathon that
had
was
so
created.
much going on. So we had to stop our statathon for this first week of free agency. We kind of talked about it a little bit, and we kind of wanted to get a jump on evaluating free agents and the moves. So we put a pause on our free agency. So our next couple of episodes will be going back to our statathon, but we wanted to take this week and do free agency. So I'm going to pass over the reins to Josh, who's kind of going to take point on this episode. So, Josh, go ahead. Let's
All,
talk about free agency.
Alrighty, gentlemen. So we're going to be doing a no notes episode. Basically, I have all the list of free agent acquisitions we're going to talk about. Ryan and Ethan do not have any of this info, and this is going to be straight, honest, straight from the dome. We'll see
And we're going to
exactly
talk about
how
it
they feel.
quickly and concisely.
You better hope so, but probably not with the first one because the first one we're going to talk about is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
Four
that one's
years.
actually kind of complicated.
See, right off the bat, just
Whoops.
done. So Kirk Cousins from Minnesota to Atlanta, 4 years, 180 mil, 90 mil guaranteed is the last thing I saw. So if anything's changed since then,
I mean, I wouldn't want to be in
it was way
Minnesota,
less.
you know?
Yeah. So I mean, we could talk about Minnesota, we talk
It
about
has nothing to do with
Atlanta.
the Vikings. Let me go ahead and say that. Nothing to do with the Vikings. I just wouldn't want to be in Minnesota.
Wow.
Just the
You
place.
hate to see it. Yeah.
Just the place. Just what an absolute
Personal
dumpster
shot.
fire.
Yeah,
Absolute
yeah, for
Personal.
garbage.
real.
F tier,
No,
F tier state. I wouldn't want to be
Oh,
there.
jeez, really hating on
jeez.
Minnesota. So
Yeah,
All
Minnesota
right.
can kick
yeah,
rocks and
okay.
secede from the Union. They can be a part of Canada.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let's get back to Kirk Cousins here. So my question for you guys is what's your expectation now with the supporting cast? Supporting cast I have right now is Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and now Darnell Mooney.
And
Uh,
Rondell Ford. Come on. We got Desmond Ritter off the squad. Let's go ahead and
literally
emphasize
traded.
that.
That is true. I honestly, I did not even include that because I
Yeah,
was just like, this feels like a nothing burger
I
to
know
me. But
because you're lazy and you don't love the Falcons the way I do.
well,
lazy.
But it
I
does
wouldn't say
improve the
lazy.
offense. It does improve the offense. No, it's not lazy. I'm just giving you crap. Because we haven't had two receivers, let alone having a guy like Rondell Moore in the slot. Not that it's a major upgrade, but it's an upgrade from, like you said earlier, a nothing burger. But in terms of Kirk Cousins, I think last year and the year before you saw like two bad offenses that didn't have enough, especially in the quarterback room. And so I think that was their emphasis this year of like, okay, we've been really attacking free agency for the defense. We turned around the defense, but the offense is so bad, it's like the team isn't even playable. So I like that they went a little bit into trying to build up the offense, but now it's like, what are we going to do in the draft? Because we still need linebacker help. We still need DB help. So now there's less problems, but they still have problems that they got to figure out.
And that can be they, they can acquire pieces through the draft, and there's still a lot of free agents on the table that they can acquire. So, you know, I think going back to the Kirk Cousins deal, I think they scored it big time with him. I think he's a good locker room presence, if anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's a huge addition to their offense. I mean, he's not the best player out there, obviously. He's not the best quarterback, but he's a great locker room presence. He's a good unifier,
When
and
they're
I
a team
think
that
he's gonna
actually
he's gonna
matters.
lead that team. I think he's gonna do a great job of leading that team and getting them where they need to go over the next couple of years.
Well, and the reason why he signed with Atlanta is because they actually wanted him. Like
They were pursuing him.
yeah,
They
a lot
really
of
were.
teams were just like, yeah, Kirk, yeah, whatever. But just so you know, we're gonna draft another guy, and that's not what he wants to hear. Like he's still got room
Yeah,
to play. He doesn't want to hear, okay, you're gonna draft my replacement. You expect me to mentor and this, that, the other. Like,
yeah.
yeah, that's probably still gonna be true on Atlanta. They're probably still gonna draft a quarterback at some point. I'm not saying this year, even though I wouldn't blame them, but at some point that's
Yeah.
gonna happen. But saying we want you to be our guy and then whatever happens happens and it's no big deal, that's probably what sold him in making his decision. And
Well,
obviously the tampering thing too, so we'll see what happened with that.
well,
But
that I think they really pursued him. That was a big factor, but I think it's proven over the last couple of years, and I think his move from the Commanders over to the Vikings, and now the Vikings over to Atlanta.
mhm.
He follows the money. That's where he is. He's not in it to win championships. He's in it for the money.
I
And
mean, it just shows he has
Sounds so
one of the
absolutely.
greatest agents
I
of all
mean,
time. That's
yeah,
Ryan is so down
because
bad hurt about Kirk Cousins. It's
yeah.
so can
No,
I
because it just shows where his head's at, and I don't blame him. Like you're only in the league at most for 10 years,
Mhm.
and he's gotten there, but really like he's in it to make money and to make a living for his family, and I don't blame him for it, but he doesn't have that
He's a
mentality of a
quarterback.
champion where he
I don't
wants
know.
to
I
go
don't know
out
that we
and
can
can
win.
speak. I don't know that
can
we can speak the mentality here,
I
but
I would like to at least kind of speak on the mentality part because if we really
Yeah,
want to look at 90 mil guaranteed, that's really 4 years, 22.5 million a year. And that's now if you're thinking as far as
that's
guaranteed
pretty
money,
low.
that's pretty low for a guy like Kirk Cousins. And for a team that's going to have to pay Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson while he's on contract.
Yep.
yeah.
So
You've
I
got
think, I
Kyle
mean,
Pitts. You have Kyle Pitts next year, and then you have Drake
yeah,
London the year after.
yeah, and that probably also includes AJ Terrell getting signed. I would assume, right?
Yeah.
He's up for a contract soon. All right.
Yep. No, no, no. They already re-signed AJ.
Th Thank you. All right, I could not remember or try. I couldn't find anything for some reason, but do want to add one more kind of note. Average points per game before the Achilles injury was 19.4 for Kirk Cousins, would be in the top 10. So if he played that
Yeah.
the entire year, easily would have been top 10, give or take.
So the problem with the Vikings last year and why it wasn't working was,
Injuries.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
yes,
That
but
was a
that's
big
not what I
deal.
want to highlight. Injuries did play a factor, but at the very start, it was Kirk being a turnover monster. Then he figured that out. Kirk figured that out and stopped. But it was the rest of his team being turnover monsters coupled with a horrible defense.
Well,
I
and
I wouldn't
it
say
was a
horrible
horrible defense
defense.
at first. It
Yeah,
was a
Yeah.
at
horrible
first,
defense at first,
but
but
I'm talking about with
a
Kirk.
big
I'm just
Oh,
talking.
okay.
yeah,
I
but
see.
a big thing is KOC could not figure out the run game. And
He
I
also
mean,
didn't
it
Bingo.
have
was
a
a lack
running
of
game.
talent. It was a lack of talent in the running back room.
The point I'm making, point I'm making,
Okay,
is
what?
now moving to Atlanta,
Yeah,
away from that beginning of the season Vikings. He doesn't have those issues. He's got a better O line than the Vikings had. He has
Yep.
a running back that can do work. He has two running backs
yeah,
that can do work for him. He still has targets to throw to and that are hungry. Drake London and Kyle Pitts are hungry for the football,
yeah,
and that's something he's already highlighted that he likes about the team. So a lot of the issues he's leaving from, now he doesn't have a Jay Jettas, which sucks, but he has a team that's going to play for him instead of
yeah,
where he was on the Vikings. So the defense is still a question mark in terms of looking at Kirk as a whole, but I think overall for Kirk, it's a much better situation in terms of his mentality it's a better situation in terms of the pieces that are around him. I think the coaching staff as well, like you've got your offensive coordinator that comes from the Sean McVay tree, which is what he's used to playing in.
Mhm.
Yep.
So I think everything about the fit makes sense for Kirk Cousins in Atlanta.
Yeah. And I really think he's gonna do very well there
Well,
in Atlanta.
and
He's got
also
the
just looking
pieces
at the
around
division.
he's got the pieces around him
Yeah,
that, he can make it work there. And honestly, like I think the addition of Kirk Cousins to that offense is going to elevate everybody else.
everything. Yeah.
And
Everyone,
I really
absolutely.
do think like Kyle Pitts, fantasy wise, Kyle Pitts is going to have a huge jump up. I think Drake
A
London is going
jump.
to have a big
I don't know
jump
about a
up.
huge, but
And
the
same
maybe
with Bijan.
consistent. I don't know. I'll say a huge bump up, but I would say that they're going to be more consistent players based on whatever chemistry they develop with Kirk. Because it is also
Yeah,
dependent. They could just not have chemistry, but Kirko likes his tight ends, so Kyle Pitts is probably
yeah,
a decently safe bet.
yeah.
I'll add two more things to Kirk before we get to our next quarterback. So Ethan, you brought up a great point about the coaching staff. Definitely within the Sean McVay tree. Another reason why I love the signing so much is because Zach Robinson's going to be a first-time offensive coordinator.
Mhm.
And the big thing about that is instead of going the Mike LaFleur, Zach Wilson route, where they're both rookies trying to figure it out, you have Kirk, who's been there before, and he will be able to make Zach Robinson right when Zach Robinson's wrong. And then it will actually take the pressure off of Zach Robinson to at least call a game. And I think that is an aspect that is gets so
But
overlooked when it
it,
comes to like coaching
Hmm.
and quarterback
the
fits
only
that I think that's going to help out a lot.
the only thing is it can't be another Russell Wilson situation when he first got to Denver.
Yeah.
And the only reason
Where
why
I do whatever I want. Now, I don't
the
think Kirk is going to do that, but
no.
that's what
No.
it can be.
Well, the other thing is that they only hired, all right, so if we go to the Denver situation, they only hired Nathaniel Hackett to get Aaron Rodgers. And Russ wasn't
And then
a
he said no.
fit. Russ was plan B, but it wasn't a fit by any stretch of the imagination. It was completely
Yep.
different offense. So that's something where we all overhyped Russ the player a little bit and didn't consider the fact of how schematically different what he was entering in Denver.
And he was still
Yeah.
really good. Denver was just that bad.
Yeah, unfortunately, the bottom completely fell out. Let's talk about another player. The bottom did fall out, but what a comeback story for one Baker Mayfield. Re-signs with Tampa, 3 years, 100 mil, 40 mil guaranteed. So again, we're really talking three.
The second best quarterback in the division now.
Yes, I think that's a fair assessment
Yeah.
there. Now, if you want to know some fun facts, QB 10 for 2023, that is the best ranking he has ever had in his career.
Yeah.
And for the
And
most
then
part,
he
and we'll
signed his
talk about
favorite target, Mike Evans.
yep, and
Yep.
Mike Evans coming back as well. We can even add him here, but the supporting cast remains the same outside of offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, who replaces Dave
Well,
Canales.
let's
So
throw in a quick little sprinkling on that though. The defense has been neutered.
yes,
Yeah.
that is a big thing. So this is where my question is Tampa just like a sneaky fantasy team to look at next year? Defense basically is going to look completely different.
Defense is
You
going to
lose,
suck.
yeah. So are we looking at this could be like the last big year for Mike Evans? Is this another really big year for Baker? Does
Yeah,
Rashad White get looked at because he was a PPR machine? Does Chris
I
Godwin
would
move up from wide receiver 28?
I would be
Yeah.
really concerned about Mike Evans. I think I'd feel better about Rashad White, and that's probably it. I mean, maybe Chris Godwin, but it's probably going to be Rashad White season, and he's the only one that's going to get anything done.
Yeah. If y'all
Yeah,
want
and that's that. I agree with that. I think Rashad White is a fantasy lock this year. I think he is a top 10 running back. But Mike Evans, I would put him as a high tier two wide receiver at best. I like his touchdown dependency or is his
But what
touchdown
just
rate,
big plays? It's
but
not even
but
touchdown. Monster
I
reception.
just I I don't know. I don't know. I think this might be the last big year for Mike Evans.
Yeah, and I will
So
give y'all a couple stats. This is a teaser for our wide receiver stat-a-thon. Big play rate for Mike Evans is 28%,
Yeah,
which the average big
that
play
tracks.
percentage for wide receivers last year is 15%. Now,
That tr-
this is the one. Here's the scary one. Touchdown rate, 16%, the average
that
being 7
that's
for
insane.
last year. So that's where it's, I mean, Mike Evans has always kind of been a touchdown dependent kind of player, but we'll have to definitely
That's literally
monitor.
the only reason why Ashley had a shot at getting to the fantasy championship last year
yeah,
was Mike Evans.
Yeah, I literally Mike Evans kind of saved the season there. Absolutely. So let's go to the next one, which I think the only reason why I want to bring this up is because we have no idea what this team's going to do, and that's Gardner Minshew to the Las Vegas Raiders. 2 years, 25 mil. There's 3 void years on the contract, so I find that to be a little bit interesting. So very interesting situation with the Raiders here. Zamir
They're
White, yeah.
they're gonna draft a quarterback. Zamir White's the guy. He's the only one fantasy relevant on that team. Sorry, Devontae Adams.
So I guess here's my question. Like, do we start looking at Devontae Adams as a late in the offseason kind of trade acquisition? Or
Could be.
does someone throw a bone
If he develops chemistry
by
with
draft?
whatever rookie that they draft, he could be a late season trade, but barring a rookie presence in the Raiders, he's dead. He's dead weight.
yep.
Yeah.
I agree with that statement. I don't think unless he has a highly skilled quarterback throwing to him, he suffers.
Which the fact that they
And
thought that was going to be Jimmy G is offensive.
yeah,
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
think
it
that
explains the
happens.
last coach.
So
Let me get a
Yeah.
highly skilled quarterback. What's Jimmy G doing? Oh my God. Did he just say that?
No, I still love we haven't talked about it, but I still love the story where he's like, you don't talk about the 2007 Patriots like that. Oh man, that's an all-timer to be honest with you. As
Yeah.
far as the remaining quarterbacks, I mean, I'll just kind of blitz through these. Jacoby Brissett goes back to New England. I'm assuming that, I mean, that he's probably the backup. Sam Darnold is technically now the starting quarterback for Minnesota, but after Minnesota decides, hey,
Ryan.
let's,
How you feeling about that, Ryan? Sam
don't
Darnold,
don't don't
QB1.
ask me that.
but let me
Minnesota
also
Vikings.
say,
No, but for real, with the signing of Sam Darnold, it doesn't necessarily scare me, but I do think that what's going to end up happening is the Vikings have to draft a quarterback this year.
Well, they got
and
another first
They
round.
and they
have
have two
to.
chances now. They got
Yeah,
23, and that's a good question. Let me hold on. Let
23 and
me.
11?
I
yeah, I
believe it's
think it's
11. I'm
11. So I really do
Yep.
think that they are going to trade up into the top five to get a
Yeah.
quarterback. I
Well,
It's
really do think so.
Arizona is movable at 4.
Yeah.
Arizona.
So
Arizona is very movable. I
I'm
mean,
hoping I'm
even
hoping
Chargers.
for Drake May. If they settle
Chargers,
for
they're taking wide receiver.
if they settle for JJ McCarthy,
Who was it? No, I
I'm
think it was
going
the
to be upset.
Patriots that
I'm
said that they
going to
were
be upset.
really liking JJ.
So I want to get to let's let's pause on
Oh yeah,
the Drake
we're getting
May
ahead of
JJ
ourselves.
Yeah,
We
McCarthy.
have a lot of draft.
a lot of
But
draft
I
stuff
here
coming.
here's why I want to say it because we have recent history of another North Carolina quarterback. That's Sam Howell. Basically growing up in the exact same system, just got traded to Seattle. Now,
That's
are we
interesting.
I know it's probably not the best course of action to kind of look at Sam Howell and think of, oh, we gotta look at we must look at Drake May the same, but there might be an actual learning curve for Drake May. So
Yeah,
that's where if Minnesota wants to go after Drake May or
Yeah.
New England wants to go after Drake May, then Brissett and Sam Darnold become a
But here's
must
the thing
add
too.
for fantasy.
Here's the thing with that,
yeah,
Josh. You got to ask yourself how talented is the kid because Patrick Mahomes coming out of Texas Tech had a big learning curve from going from the Tech offense to the Kansas City offense.
but
So
he
you
also
need to ask
sat for the
yourself,
first
how
year.
talented is
Yeah.
that kid?
So
Yeah,
if
I
he
that
sits
that's
for a
that's
year,
the question.
if he sits for a year and doesn't get thrown to the wolves like Sam Howell did,
Well, hey, the
then
Commanders are making moves in free agency.
I
We're
mean
gonna
Sam
talk
Howell
about
Look,
technically
it
did sit
so
for a year,
why
but
don't we table that till we talk about
still,
some of the stuff that Washington has done, and then
yeah,
we'll pick this back up.
yeah.
honestly,
Let's go on
Washington could
because
have
we
been
got to focus
another.
on the free agency moves.
Yeah,
So
okay. I
let's
mean,
go ahead and that's something we can talk about in our
Yeah,
turn.
we'll table just
yeah,
for right now
Yeah,
because the Commanders are coming up.
yeah. So
yeah.
I mean,
But
here's
really quickly, Ryan, I want to ask you, with all the Bears have done, because I'm sure the Bears are coming up very soon in everything
yes.
that they've done. How do you feel as a Vikings fan watching Chicago get out here, get Keenan Allen, get guys like that, and are really significantly upgrading this roster? And then couple that with the fact at this point, I'm telling you, it is probably a lock that Chicago is trading out of one. I am all but guaranteeing that they are trading back from one.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
And also to that point, it
That's a
is
bold
probably
bet.
going to be the Vikings that are going to be trading their 2 first rounds this year, their second-round pick, their first round next year, and probably more for the number 1 pick.
I don't
And
think. I don't know.
it's not,
So
it might be,
I think it's a really, really, really bold move to do that.
but how do you, with
When they
all the
don't, because
implications in mind,
they're
how do you feel about
selling, they would end up selling their soul for the number one pick. And when they can maybe sell their first rounds this year and maybe a second round this year to move up to 4 or 5
Hey, I'm just throwing it out
so
there of that trade,
and
but also the
still get a
moves that
good quarterback.
Chicago's making. How do you
I,
feel about these
Yeah.
Chicago moves as a Vikings fan?
Well, first of all, I like the Chicago moves. I think it's going to make their team, just from their perspective, I'm putting myself in their shoes. I think it's going to make their team a lot better. Whether or not they trade Fields and take, Caleb Williams in the first round. So I think if they trade out of the first spot, I think they're still set with Fields, or if they end up taking another quarterback at another spot. So I think they are set. I don't know. I don't know about the Vikings though. But I do think that the Vikings are now, they moved from the 1 or 2 spot in the NFC North. Now they're at 4. With Kirk Cousins leaving, I really do think that we moved all the way from 1 or 2 down to 4. And with all of the offseason moves that the Bears have made, that the
Yeah, because it's not
Packers
anything
have
crazy,
made,
right?
I really think that the NFC North is a beast right now. Like with everything that they have
Yeah.
going on, they are a beast.
So,
So
Josh, sorry to
I
steer
don't
you,
know.
but here's what the Bears have done that's noticeable. And I'm just gonna do fantasy
I
relevant stuff, even though we obviously
no
know that they upgraded their secondary.
go fantasy relevant, but
So,
I kind of want to circle this around the number 1 pick because I might have a very different opinion compared to
so
you guys.
Okay.
Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, and Gerald Everett. Getting Keenan Allen for a fourth is criminal. Signing DeAndre Swift to a team-friendly deal is criminal. And then Gerald Everett, he's just consistency.
He's tight end too with Cole
Yeah.
Kmet.
I don't
Yeah.
know. That might be a battle he can win over Cole Kmet, though, which makes things a
Either
little for fantasy.
So either way, I would like to also add that the OC is now Shane Waldron, who was the Seattle Seahawks OC last year. Are going to run 12 personnel, like
Yeah.
no matter what.
Well, the point I'm going to make is that it's bad for both of them.
For as far as tight ends, I would agree with you, which
So,
also
and
makes my
Justin
second
Fields
round
is
pick look
also
really
not the
nice.
biggest fan of tight ends. Like, they've had good performances, but that's not his. He's a DJ Moore fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
So
that's just what it is.
let me say my thought on this. I think this confirms Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick for the Chicago Bears. because now they're basically saying, like they're telling you, hey, Swift is running back 20 last year on a good offensive line. Keenan Allen was wide receiver 8, didn't even play the last 5 games, and DJ Moore was wide receiver 6. He, I would be shocked considering Shane Waldron is a very 12 personnel heavy coach that they would get a third receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. number one, or now that they would trade out of number one. To me, this
I mean,
confirms that Caleb Williams
I'm
is the guy at number one, and
if
they're going to
I'm them, I
fix the.
am. Bro, give me that
Yeah,
monster trade. I still have the ninth overall pick. After
yeah.
one, I have 1 and 9. So screw one. Let somebody overpay. Let me set myself up for even further in the future. And then I can take best available at 9 because I'm just roster building at this point. So whoever is the best player there, I can take that guy. It's probably going to be an offensive lineman, which Justin Fields isn't going to complain about some O-line help. He was only one of the most sacked and hit quarterbacks in the NFL last year, right? So you get that offensive line help. You get more picks in this draft, first rounders. There's a lot of good defensive guys that are going to be a little bit later in this round and corners. Not that that secondary needs help, but you can keep building that roster up because you have a wide receiver one in DJ Moore. You have a really good combination route runner in Keenan Allen at your wide receiver two. You have a really good and consistent running back because DeAndre Swift finally proved that he can be consistent, a consistent running back, and you have tight ends that you can work with. So there should be no problem in saying, all right, let's make a business decision. Let's set ourselves up for further in the future. Let's round out our roster more because why would I want to deal with Caleb Williams when he seems like a drama queen and absolute
You could not be
risk?
more wrong. That's all I'll say there.
I'm just saying,
Wait,
Mister, I want a stake in the franchise. Like, bro, you're a loser. Okay, like
you
just because you
do
got all this NIL money, this is the big stage. Like, you don't get to demand anything, and I'm not gonna deal with that. I'm just saying, if it was me, all right, and it's not me, but I'm giving you my opinion. That
That's kind of why I'm scared.
yeah.
all right,
That's
Here
kind of
I
why I'm
don't want
scared that the
Caleb Williams.
Vikings might want to trade up and get,
I
because
don't
I
want
don't want
Caleb
that. I don't
Williams.
want that on my team.
you do real all right. So let's start off with this. Caleb Williams personally never said that
Yeah, his
it
agent
was
said it
it.
for him. He
It
said it to
wasn't
his
his.
agent. Oh, don't make me look bad, but
And on top
make sure that they give me a percentage of the team. No, but it's not me. It's my
it was
agent. Like, dude,
it
you
wasn't
are
even
a
the
freaking
agent.
bum.
It wasn't even the agent. And then if we're really going to talk about if Caleb Williams is overrated, I'm
Okay,
sorry. The issue at
I'm
USC
not saying he's
is the coach.
overrated. He might be a little overhyped right now. I'm not saying he's
I
overrated.
I
So
will
free agency.
see. I will tell. Here's the
Anyway,
thing. The reason why I bring up the Caleb Williams debate is because I don't. I
Oh,
want to
crazy.
ask, is Justin Fields even worth it anymore? Because I don't think he is. Because
yes, I
unfortunately,
think he
who
is.
who are you good? Who's going to trade for him right now? Like
Well,
legitimately,
I
because
think
Atlanta fixed
they
their
had
Well,
a
they're
issue.
only
trade
going to get the
offer.
third round pick, or
Yeah, they
maybe
had a
a
trade
second.
offer. The Eagles made a trade offer from what I heard.
That
They
would
made
be
a
And
trade offer for him,
so then,
but
but then
he would have been just a backup quarterback.
the only place that I think is actually legitimate would be Pittsburgh. Hi guys, Josh here from the future editing this video. So in literally hours after we recorded, Justin Fields officially traded as not as to the Pittsburgh Steelers for literally a 6th round pick that can be turned into a fourth if he plays 51% of snaps for the Steelers this season. Yeah, so let's just talk about that trade. Basically, you're going to hear our QB discussion as what to do. Should we go with Fields? Should we go with Caleb Williams as far if you're Chicago Bears? And right now, it really does feel like they are going to go with Caleb Williams with the number one pick. You get 2 veteran receivers, a veteran running back, really outside of the O line and Caleb Williams. That's really where your youth is going to be. So, initial thoughts on it. I like the trade for Pittsburgh. I think you completely revamp your QB room for literally nothing on the cap. Russ is 1.2 million for 1 year, which if you want to talk about dynasty, I think I don't know if Russ is the best person available. I think he may be used as a spot start, but that's only if George Pickens is getting like used properly. And then on top of that, I do think Fields' dynasty value was saved with Pittsburgh acquiring him. So I think Fields' best attribute is going vertical and QB run game. I think that's how Pittsburgh wants to cater their offense to. That's why you hired Arthur Smith. Now, we don't know how it's all going to work out, but that's just kind of my thoughts on it initially. But back to the episode. Like at this point, Pittsburgh
But
is
they're
the
not going to
only
do it with
spot.
Yeah, but
Russ. They're not
they
going to do
just
it
got
after Russ.
Russ.
Russ,
So
was it 1 year with Russ, right?
Yeah,
It was,
yeah, it's a 1 year
I don't
deal.
know.
1 year, $2 million.
yeah. So like you literally could go, Russ, you're gonna start this year. Justin, take a back seat. We know Chicago sucked, and then you'll take it from there on forward. And having Justin Fields for Pittsburgh also makes sense because when you also have to face Lamar Jackson twice a year. So
Yeah,
that's where
Justin, go mimic Lamar for us, please.
I mean, literally Justin Fields, Josh Allen might be the only two who actually
That is
could
so
compare
that is
as
so
far as scrambling
disrespectful.
quarterbacks.
If the Steelers asked him to do that, listen, man, we got to play Lamar twice a year. You've got to give us a good scout team, please. That's what you're here
But
for. That's why we traded for you.
I mean, for a third round pick, we saw last year how important backup quarterbacks are, considering how many
Yeah,
quarterbacks hit IR.
went down.
So, I mean, we've already talked about Swift. I think we all agree that Swift is a good signing. But
Yeah,
let's talk
really.
about the perennial. As I'm going to call this, buckle up. Let's talk about running backs. All right, Saquon Barkley, Giants to the Eagles. Running back 13 in 2023. He signed a 3-year,
I mean,
$37.5 million deal.
he wants to win. He wants to win.
Exactly.
And that's a business decision. And they'll say what they're gonna say about moving, in the division. It's whatever, or like moving to a quote unquote rival, not the division, but a rival
Yeah,
team. Um, but yeah, that's what's best for him. He was talking to the Giants for so long about getting help, and they did not listen to him.
Yeah,
They did
they
they
not
ignored
work
him.
with
completely
him.
screwed.
They did not pay him. So what do you want him to do? Like he wants to go where one, he's worth,
100%
and
agree.
two, he's got a shot.
Yeah,
He has a shot in Philly. Like Philly, I know they lost their Hall of Fame center, but that is still a really good football team, you
And
know?
yeah,
literally they have the heir apparent in Cam Jurgens, who was the right guard last year, which means they're just gonna fill in another guard there. And so
And they
that
signed
he's
Hennessy. Hennessy's a
yeah.
good interior
Oh, they
offensive.
signed Hennessy?
yeah.
Yeah, they signed Hennessy from the
Oh, no,
Falcons.
then Hennessy's the center. Okay. Then
Yeah.
they're
And he was good. He was just
yeah.
injured. And the Falcons found a different center that they liked. It's whatever. Hennessy is a good interior offensive lineman.
Okay. So Hennessy in the middle, Landon Dickerson, they just signed an $84
Yep.
million contract to
Yep.
Jurgens on the right side, then Mailata and Lane Johnson still there. Yeah, that
Yeah, they
offensive
don't
line
have
is
any
still great.
offensive line problems.
It was ranked number one
Yeah.
according to Pro Football Network. And
Okay,
then
now
you
that's
have
going to drop a little bit, but
yeah, but AJ Brown, wide receiver 5, Devontae Smith, wide receiver 19. I think your only concern for Saquon Barkley is lack of touchdowns because the tush push, I don't care if Kellen Moore's OC, is still going to remain.
oh God,
So
Kellen, see?
yeah,
Yeah,
Kellen
but the
Moore's the
tush push
OC.
without
Oh,
Jason Kelsey.
that's, okay. All right, can we talk about the next free agent?
Yeah,
Please, God, I
Josh
don't.
Jacobs. This I think was the
Oh,
one what caught everyone by surprise.
but
Yeah,
it was a
Go
strike to Aaron Jones like that.
yeah.
It
Yeah,
was
it wasn't a
All they
stray,
did
it was the
was
direct
all they
shot.
just yeah,
yeah.
all they did was just get a younger Aaron Jones.
Well, I'm
I
saying it's
really
a
do
spray
think.
because they didn't talk to him. It was literally
Yeah,
just, yeah, we're signing
Oh,
somebody else, and he found,
yeah,
oh, okay. So I focused on just the numbers, but they didn't talk to Aaron Jones whatsoever, like not even a pay
yeah,
cut or anything like that.
that was based on his reaction and what he was saying. He hasn't come out and said that's what happened, but that's
Ooh.
heavily implied of the impression of what happened.
Oh, that's gonna make
yeah.
Minnesota Green Bay a little spicy.
Oh, I can't wait
Well,
to watch
yeah,
Green Bay play
of
Minnesota and
course.
Sam Darnold
I
throws
think
Yeah.
that's going to be really.
It's got to be
That's going to be
amazing.
really interesting.
Yeah, so here's what I will like to add for this. Obviously, we think obviously Josh Jacobs is going to succeed. I think in
Yeah,
Green Bay.
great. He's a great player.
Yeah, they have the seventh ranked offensive line according to PFN last year. This contract is front loaded, and I would like to also add, despite all the issues happening last year, ends up as the running back 28. Obviously, let's remember his best year, running back 3 in 2022. It's front loaded because I also like to bring up that Christian Watson, Luke Musgrave, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dubs, Tucker Kraft are all still on rookie contracts.
Yep.
Yep. That's why they.
So, yep. So if based on how Green Bay has literally layered this out, it feels like Josh Jacobs, you are the guy for at least the next 2 years until we have to pay everyone else.
And then I
But
hate
And
stupid
then
fit.
you're gone.
yeah. So then my question is, what's the ceiling for Josh Jacobs? Are we still looking at RB3 or are we looking more
Yeah. No,
RB10 to
no. I'd
15?
say a top five running back performance is
Yeah,
more
for
than
Real?
sure.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's an upgrade. I don't know Las Vegas's ranking with O line, but I'm pretty sure it's an upgrade
it was.
from his O
Oh
line
yeah.
last
It
year.
was pretty middling.
I will
It
get
wasn't
that to
top.
you.
And
It wasn't
and
good.
I mean, the offense in general is just a huge upgrade for him.
Yeah, I
Las
So,
agree.
Vegas was
I think he's
19.
going, yeah, I think he's going to get an upgrade at every point in his game.
Yeah.
I don't understand why he wouldn't go up in fantasy value. So I would say he's a
I
lock
mean,
at
would you
least a
rather play
top
with?
10 back, depending on workload. If AJ Dillon is still mixed in, I think he's still a top 10 back. If that we see a little less AJ Dillon in there, top five.
Well,
Yeah, I
so
mean,
here's
I
the
put down
thing.
AJ Dillon as far as a resign, but I think he's
For
completely out of the
Josh
picture.
Jacobs,
Yeah,
like playing with a better offensive line, playing with Jordan Love versus Aiden O'Connell or
yeah,
whoever
Yeah.
bum they had back there, and then you add in all these young receivers that have paid off and these tight ends that look good. Like it's just such a upgrade and better situation for Josh Jacobs. Like,
for
obviously,
sure.
people didn't want to see him leave a system that used him, but he's going into another system that's still going to heavily use him in the passing and running game.
I think this
So,
also keeps him healthier too, to be honest with you.
yeah, because he's not
For
every,
sure.
not the
Yeah.
entire offense anymore.
Yeah.
He's going to
So
be
let
able to get rest. Like, he's got AJ Dillon there for him. And I mean, they had Zamir White last year with Las Vegas, but I don't know. I don't know. I
Amir
think
White
I
is a
think he's in a much better situation in
yeah.
Green Bay than he was
everyone
in
should be
Las
looking at
Vegas.
Zamir White. If Zamir White is available in your league, you don't deserve to be playing fantasy football.
Yeah. I will tell you right now, especially with how the running back class is, I know this may not be for everyone's league settings, but if all your top receivers are taken in your rookie draft, and if somehow Zamir White's available, I would say
I'm
I would
drafting.
not be shocked if someone goes 108, 109, 110 and hits
Yeah,
Zamir White if he's available. To me, I think at least for the initial fantasy value, you're getting your money back there.
yeah,
So
I
let's talk
agree.
about the person Josh Jacobs took replaced, and that's Aaron Jones. 1 year,
Like,
7 mil. Um, he was running back 37 last year, lowest rank since his rookie year. Now, the question I have to ask you is most likely we're looking at a rookie quarterback for the Vikings. Is Aaron Jones a sneaky buy for this year alone?
mm,
I
I don't know.
I
You would
think
be playing
so.
chess at that point if you're making that.
Yeah, it's a educated guess, but I don't know. With how the run game was last year, I'm kind of hesitant on it. Now, obviously, it was a lot of it was a lack of talent, but I I think he could be a good running back this year for us. He really could, fantasy wise and like NFL wise. So I see both sides of the coin, and honestly, you could flip it, and it would probably be a better guess than what I'm giving. But I'd say he'd probably end up being a good running back for us. And I think fantasy wise, I see him in the top 20, maybe top 15. So at the
Yeah,
very least, because of the
not a
lack
top
of
10
talent in the
whatsoever.
running back. I think because of the lack of talent in the running back room in Minnesota, he's going to get the lion's share of the work. So just volume wise, I think that makes him like a top 15 back. So
Okay, E, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page.
All righty. Let's speak to another running back here, Derrick Henry from Tennessee to the Ravens, 2 years, 16 mil.
I mean, there's
Is he
there's not really
another?
a way about it.
how do you feel about it, Josh?
Yeah, we'll let you
So
talk
I all
about it
right.
and then we'll move on because there's
As
just
the
so much to say about
as the
it.
resident Ravens fan, I love the move. Because I do think he stabilizes the position. For some reason, there has been a hex on the running back health
Yeah, just
in the
pray for his Achilles and
yeah.
knee.
Yeah, it literally I am
For sure.
I've started the prayer circle already. My bigger concern though with the Derrick Henry thing is this offensive line got smoked. John
Yeah.
Simpson's gone, Morgan Moses traded, and Kevin Zeitler's still a free agent. So they only have two out of the five starters. They've made an emphasis that they are going to rebuild the offensive line. How they rebuild, I have no idea because they haven't signed anyone for that yet. So that's going to be the big conundrum. There's still a couple free agents available. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
be surprised if Zeitler got re-signed, but I think in order for Derrick Henry to be at the level that we expect him to be, the O line has to get fixed first.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right, so let's talk about the person replacing Derrick Henry, Tony Pollard from Dallas to Tennessee.
You.
I like it. I
A
like it to be honest with
strong
you.
question mark.
Yeah, very strong question mark
Yeah,
for me.
I think that's very fair. He was the running back 14 in 2023. I mean, signing a 3 year, $21.5 million deal, 10.5 mil guaranteed. So that's essentially the franchise tag. Um, how do you think Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears are going to work together moving forward? Because that's the big question I have.
I think it's going to be a similar split to what Derrick Henry and Tyjae Spears had last year. I think Tony Pollard will take a majority of the workload, but it will be a split back. There he will have to share time with
No
Tyjae
one,
Spears.
no one on that offense is fantasy relevant, and that's really all that needs to be said, I think.
Really, actually, let's talk about Tennessee's offense here. I mean, the next big acquisition they got is Calvin Ridley for 4 years, 92 mil. There is one aspect of the Tony Pollard contract that I have a big question about that I want to ask you guys is for a receiver who's turning 30 this year, why is this contract backloaded?
On Calvin Ridley's,
Yes.
because
He's
the
at
Tennessee Titans suck.
the cap hit
Yep.
is 2 mil this year, and then 12 and 10 mil the next 2 years after that.
Because
Well,
the
that you'd have to look
Titans
at their books and see, okay, well, who is there a lot of dead cap this year? And are they
there's
anticipating
not.
that dead cap to go
There
There's
away
isn't.
not much. I'll look it up
because I
again,
don't
like
I
for you
haven't
guys
looked
right
at it.
now. At last thing I saw was that it was not much, but we shall
No,
Because if
check.
there's
there's
a lot of
literally
dead
no
cap on
reason.
their roster,
There's
then
no
they might be
reason, and they did
backloading
it
the deal.
anyways, Ryan.
Um,
That's
they have 54 mil in cap space.
Hmm, that's weird.
yeah. There's no
Yeah.
reason, and they did it anyways.
Now they do have 36 mil in dead money. So let's start for that. Kevin Byard, Tannehill, Andre Dillard, Derrick Henry, Aziz Al-Shaair, Sean Murphy Bunting, and Monty Rice. So that equates to about 36 mil.
Hmm, that's
But they
weird.
still have quite a bit. They
Hey,
still have
okay.
about
Well, Aziz, because he just signed with the Texans.
I think they released him. That's why.
Oh,
So I
that,
because I think Aziz is a cap casualty,
yeah, screw
which
him.
I'll confirm that.
I don't know. The Titans are
Yeah,
just doing stuff. They're trying. I
they're
just think
they're
team. I don't know what their next head coach is going to do, but good luck to him.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. We talk about Bryce Callahan. He was the OC for the Bengals. So if he takes anything similar, this I think getting Calvin Ridley with DeAndre Hopkins, there is a vertical aspect to this game, at least this offense, which me and with a guy like Will Levis as your quarterback, that makes a lot of sense. Does that really screw with Tyjae Spears and Pollard being like PPR machines?
Good,
Yes.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's talk about the one PPR machine sent to the eighth layer of hell being Austin Eckler to the
Uh,
Commanders.
can we not? I just don't ever want to talk about the Commanders ever again.
I'm willing to skip it. The Commanders have
Like,
burned me too much.
we've just
No, 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 no. Let's
he's
let's let's
there.
gloss over it. So
He's there.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's there. That's essentially what it is. I don't think he's going to make a splash. I think they might have promised him that they're going to get a new QB. He might just be going there for the month, just for the paycheck, and that's it.
Pretty much.
Two
Because their
just
O
2 years,
line,
8.4 mil.
their O line is an absolute dumpster fire, and they need to make big changes on it.
And
But
even
other than that, I don't see the metaphorical light at the end of the tunnel for him. I think he's just there for the paycheck because they're willing to
Oh, yeah,
pay
the
him
only
to
light
go
no,
at the end
there,
of the
and
the,
tunnel
that's
is
it.
taking
no, there's
Matt
no
back.
light at the end of the tunnel. It's a dead end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, it's actually just it's a light pole that he's driving at 120 miles per hour at.
Yeah, and so here's what makes this even weirder. Kingsbury's the OC. They just traded Sam Howell. They signed Marcus Mariota, which if Marcus Mariota is your backup, this tells me I have a good feeling who they want to draft at the number 2 pick,
yeah,
which is one Jaden Daniels from LSU.
Yeah, could be.
And
Could
if
be.
that's the case, again, that's more work being taken from Eckler. So that's where it's just like,
yeah,
man,
Because they're
I
at
I
pick
think
two, right? Commanders have pick two.
yep, they have pick 2. And a lot of people thought, oh, maybe this is them going for pick 1 because Cliff Kingsbury was the OC with Caleb Williams, except really Lincoln is still calling plays. So
I think
I
he's a
personally
bum
believe it's
too.
still going to be Jane Daniels.
yeah. I agree.
So
I think that would be a good move for them.
we are not going to end running backs on a bad note. However, we still got one more, and this is the funniest one, I think. So we all got the notification that Zach Moss signed with the Bengals. So we're like, oh crap. So they got Mixon, Moss, and Chase Brown. Me being the Chase Brown owner, I was like, dang it. All right, this really screws up this chance.
Which you should still be depressed, even though you're going to talk about what happened.
Yeah. 2 minutes later, Joe Mixon has been traded to the Houston Texans and signs a 2-year, $19.75 million extension.
Dude, that Houston team is dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I will
for
give you the
real.
stats for the Houston offense right now. CJ Stroud, QB6, obviously. Um, Offensive line was ranked ninth. Tank Dell, technically wide receiver 39, but he was still a major impact throughout the year. Nico Collins, wide receiver 12. Dalton Schultz was the tight end 10. And now you add a running back who can do basically everything Singletary and Pierce can do combined with the power, with the receiving ability,
Hmm.
can do more with less. I'm going to give you guys an over under on his placement by the end of next season. Will he be will he be higher than running back 7 or lower than running back 7?
Lower.
I think
Not
lower.
significantly lower, but lower.
Where if you were to guess, what kind of finish?
I would say lower. Lower than
10
seven.
to 10, maybe
10?
9.
That's
I'd say a range between 9 and 12 for me.
I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. So running back six again, third straight year with a top 10 finish for Joe Mixon is the fun fact I have for you. So I mean, I'll skim through the other running back signings: Gus Edwards, Devin Singletary, Antonio Gibson to New England, which I find that's very interesting. Trying to figure out he and Ramondre together. Obviously, we talked
Yeah.
about Zach Moss, the two kind of main running backs unsigned. And I don't think it's really going to be even worth mentioning at this point. But this is just a fun question: who gets signed first, J.K. Dobbins or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Oh, CEH probably.
CEH because of his injury history, like
I
lack of
I would agree
injury
with you
history.
both. I would
Like he
definitely.
gets injured, but or Dobbins, J.K. Dobbins, that bro's got issues
He's held
Yeah,
with
together
his
by
legs.
tape, and
yeah. At this
Yeah,
point, he really is. Unfortunately,
I don't think anybody's gonna touch him
he just needs
because
to
he's
retire. Like honestly, for his
yeah.
for his health
I
and
don't think
yeah.
he
well-being,
can
he just
get a
needs to
contract
stop.
somewhere.
Honestly, I agree with you guys. I think it's either the Ravens in the backup role or retire. I don't
Like
think there is
Yeah,
just go be a
even.
coach, man. We respect you. You did your thing. Like,
yeah,
please stop. It's
Uh,
actually concerning.
Honestly, he
yeah.
he might go down as like a what if. Like, what if he didn't just have these slew
He
of
already
injuries?
is. He already is. But Baltimore already blew their shot in the championship game against Mahomes
Yeah,
for
I know.
absolutely no
Yeah, that
reason.
was yeah. Don't know either. All right, so let's go to wide receivers, as I have called the WTF section. Um, so we've already, I mean, Keenan Allen is where this inspires to. They trade a fourth round pick. We've already talked about the Bears situation. What the heck are the Chargers going to do? Because
Draft
your
a wide
QB1
receiver. That's the only
is
thing they
Quentin
can.
Johnston.
Yeah, when wide receiver one, it's Quentin Johnston.
Yes, as of right now, because they
Yep.
cut Mike Williams.
Yeah,
So all they
I
have,
know.
well, that's no, that's a bold statement because they do still have Josh Palmer.
All right, so we're
And
It's
counting
Quentin
Josh
Johnston
Palmer.
season.
no,
So
it is so definitely not Johnson season.
so
But
we can confirm that
they're drafting a wide receiver.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think they're not leaving five at this point.
no.
So yeah, that's really my question on the Keenan Allen thing. It was just for a fourth round pick, which also find it mind boggling. I was like, you couldn't really get a third, but
Yeah.
let's go and talk other receivers. Ethan, I think you're gonna be excited about this one. Michael Pittman. Three
Yeah.
years, 68 mil, wide receiver 13 in 2023.
Man.
However, and this is my question for you guys.
Mhm.
When JT has been a prominent feature in this offense, he was the wide receiver 79 in 2020, wide receiver 17 in 2021. Can
Okay.
Michael Pittman
But
Jr.
they played together at the end of last season and they kept going. So it comes down to
Yeah,
Anthony Richardson. But Anthony Richardson has been very vocal about how much he likes Michael Pittman.
so
Now, I'm not
my
going to put
question to you,
a
Ethan,
lot of stock in that, but we're just talking about things that are happening.
my question to you is Michael Pittman Jr. a top five wide receiver with Anthony Richardson?
Oh God.
Oh,
No. No, he's not. I wish he would be, but he's not. Nothing would make me happier than if that statement were true, but it's not. It's not true.
yeah.
He's not a top five.
I don't think so. Not a top five.
If he makes me
Maybe a
eat my
top
words,
15, but
I will treasure a Michael Pittman jersey for the rest of my life
I
and
was going to say
pass it
we'll
down
have
as
to
a
get you a
family
Michael Pittman
heirloom.
jersey.
Yeah, I will pass it down as a family heirloom if he's a top five wide receiver next year. But barring that happening, he's not. He's a very good wide receiver. He's a wide receiver I would want on my fantasy football team, but he's not top five.
yeah,
Yeah,
There's
agree
nothing
with
I
that.
to
unless
me,
he regresses to the means and starts scoring touchdowns.
I
That
mean,
is another conversation.
let's talk about it. So Michael Pittman Jr. has a touchdown rating of wow, I actually
Well,
cannot believe this is real.
1%.
3.67%.
Yeah.
So if that goes
That's
up, I could.
comical.
Oh, trust me, literally just skimming over it. It gets funny at some points. Like Mike Evans' rate is hilarious. Michael Pittman Jr.'s rate's hilarious. But then there's a couple other players where you're just like, how do you have that high of a percentage? Like DeAndre Hopkins was 14%, was actually, no, sorry. Jordan Addison was 14%.
Yeah, well, with the reps that he got, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked, all right. So also we definitely hit on Mike Evans
Yes,
already.
we're praying
Um,
Michael Pittman is the point of that.
yes. I personally, to answer the question I gave y'all, I really think Michael Pittman's ceiling is wide receiver 7.
Yeah, that sounds like
That's my feeling. T. Higgins is going to be our next player to talk about. He
nah.
got the franchise tag. The question is the trade request legit? And
Yes,
will he ever break top 12 receiver territory?
no, he won't. Not on the Bengals.
Not with, yeah, not with Jamar there.
Yeah. All right. Easy enough. I'm happy that was. We talked about Calvin Ridley. Makes no sense personally for me. To me, I think Ethan, I think I told this to you or I told this to someone. To me, it feels like an overpay because they're rebuilding.
Yeah, but to him, he's like, "Oh no, this is totally exactly what I'm worth." And it's like, bro,
I mean,
you're
look,
not that
here's
guy. Like, cue the 10-minute
look,
montage of you dropping passes, and most of them are touchdown passes. Like, come on.
look, I'm not worth 3 bags of chips for an NFL contract. But if someone paid me 3 bags of chips, I would totally say my value is 3 bags of chips.
Yeah.
I am going to be that self-aware and just not say anything. Um, we talked about Darnell Mooney. To me, Darnell Mooney's probably the sneakiest
It's an
signing
upgrade.
for the
Yeah,
receivers. I
it's an
Yeah,
upgrade. It's not amazing. It's not bad. It's an upgrade for Atlanta.
it's an
But
upgrade.
it's
Yeah.
the only reason why I think it's an upgrade because I think it fits. Like Kyle Pitts being like he'll be a field stretcher, but only with like the tight end like range of things. Drake London's not a field stretcher.
He's a
Darnell
possession.
Mooney is.
Yeah.
And so that's just only going to open it up for Pitts and Drake London. That's why I love the signing so much.
They have a lot of stretchers because Rondell
I
too.
Yeah, Rondale Moore. I think they just re-signed Kadero Hodge like a couple days ago.
They did.
Um,
Yeah.
I
He's a
would
stretcher, 6'4" field stretcher.
I will also tell you, I would not be surprised if Troy Franklin, the Oregon receiver, is on Atlanta's radar. Because I think they want to always have a speed aspect to open up Pitts and Drake London and Bijan for that matter. So I think that archetype is what I'm so interested in with the Darnell Mooney signing. So the last one. Oh no, sorry. We have 3 more to go. God. This is all within the last day.
We are almost
Hollywood
there.
Brown.
Ah,
Hollywood Brown. The only reason why I find this interesting, and I'm going to ask this for you guys, is this the plan for KC moving forward? And what I mean by the plan, they're going to go, look, we have Patrick Mahomes. He'll make it work with anybody. We have a
what a
type of wide receiver draft class you will never see again.
Yeah.
Um, literally, so funny enough, we'll have a guest on for our wide receiver rookie episode, and I checked the PFF top 100 grade. There's 20 receivers in there. I have never seen wide receiver 20 in any like draft class like ever. I've never seen that. You're not going to get
it's
a wide
unbelievable.
receiver class like this
It's
again.
actually
That's
unbelievable.
crazy.
Yeah, so if that's it, so we have this logjam at receiver, which means a lot of veteran receivers are going to have to take prove it deals.
Yep.
The reason why I think Kansas City can do this is because they're paying half a billy to Mahomes, and you could just keep loading up on 1 year deals with veteran players. And the problem with that is good luck trying to guess in Dynasty who the receiver is going to be. And that I'm going to include Rashi Rice into that equation.
Yeah. Honestly, sorry for Alex's entire team, fantasy wise.
Oh,
Like,
dude,
let me go
how
ahead and
bad?
break
Wait,
this
hold
down
on.
while you. No,
Yeah,
I'm gonna break
pull it
this
up,
down. You
pull it
bring up
up.
the next free agent, and I'm gonna
Yeah,
break down how upset I would be if I was Alex.
yeah, bring it up. Let me know when you
Yeah, I
have
don't
it
look at
up.
those.
I'll let you. Okay. I have it up. Strata witnesses. Okay. So Austin Eckler to Washington.
Oof.
All right.
Yikes.
E
Um,
Calvin Ridley.
hold on.
E
Hold on. David Montgomery, year two of Jameer Gibbs.
E.
Rashi Rice.
Hmm.
Yeah, he has some consistency in Stephon Diggs,
Yeah.
but then you go into Calvin Ridley. Um, he stabilizes a little bit with Ayuk. Ayuk, I think, is going to be solid going forward. He's got
Mm-hmm.
Kirko Chains and CJ, so that's solid. Nick Chubbs is a big question mark, and then he has nobody else except for
He has Jerry Judy.
Maybe Curtis
Oh,
Samuel, or Jerry
yeah.
Judy.
I look. Is Jerry Judy even worth mentioning as far as a fantasy impact with
No,
Cleveland?
no,
I
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe.
But
no.
here's the thing, Ethan. Your maybe with like three question marks is the best reaction that's going to come at like for
Yeah,
us.
I'm sorry.
That's the
Yeah, no.
problem. Um.
And get this, he only has a second, third, and a fifth to
Ooh.
draft with this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, that man needed to sell pieces at the end of last year, and I told him to sell pieces at the end of last year, and
I I
you
just
didn't
think he
sell
didn't want.
pieces last year.
Look, man. Um,
Yeah.
and that's also including Dak as a quarterback. So
It's not a
E.
bad QB. I'll take Dak at QB. He needs to
I
start selling those QBs because there's no reason to have Kirko on Atlanta, who is a very valuable quarterback now, and CJ Stroud.
That is true. But maybe honestly, I say that also knowing that I have needed two quarterbacks for the last 3 years. So
Yeah,
you
but
might
I'm
need
saying
to.
one of those three needs to go.
Oh, I see. Yes. Sorry. On the same page now. All right. Let's get back onto wide receivers. We have two more to talk about. Gabe Davis to Jacksonville. 3 years, 39 mil, 24 mil is guaranteed. My question for you is why should I believe in Gabe Davis?
Couldn't. You should believe in Christian Kirk, and that's all you need to know. Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram just got a little bit better.
I like that. Ryan, how about you?
I agree. I agree with him.
All right, the last one. I found this very interesting when I was going through. Oh crap. Freaking Deontay Johnson, I forgot about. But we're not
Okay,
talking
we'll
about
circle the
Deontay Johnson
wagons.
yet.
Yeah, we'll circle the wagons.
We're gonna talk about Curtis Samuel.
That
Also,
was what
perfect
I was.
segue with the wagons.
Yeah, with Alex's team and me saying Curtis Samuel could be interesting. Yeah, I really like it
Where did he
actually
end?
for the Bills.
Okay,
He
for the
went to the
Bills.
Bills,
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so he's
I hadn't heard
essentially
about that.
there.
That's interesting.
it came
Hopefully,
out
keeping
yesterday.
everything.
Okay, that's
The
why.
signing to me says I want him to be everything that Isaiah McKenzie and Gabe Davis weren't, but we
Yep,
thought they were.
yep.
So it's interesting in the terms of he's going to get used, but it's a double-edged sword in that if he sucks, if he stinks up the place, he's useless.
Here's my thinking on this. I think they signed Curtis Samuel to just not feel pressure to take a wide receiver early in the draft.
That could also be
So
Yeah,
true.
so to me, it almost sounds like there is a feeling we're getting a run of receivers, kind of like how it was Jameson Williams, Olave, Drake London, like back to back to back.
yeah.
To me, that's what it's going to feel like. And right now, I mean, I don't have an official rankings yet, but right now we're talking Marvin Harrison Jr., Roma Dunze, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., A.D. Mitchell. I'm probably missing a couple
And more to
others.
follow. And
Yeah,
more.
more and more and more to follow. Um, but I guess my question for you guys is, will Curtis Samuel fill the Gabe Davis role, or will someone else will?
Oh no, he's for sure going to have that Gabe Davis.
Yeah, yeah, he's gonna have to fill that role.
All right, I like the answer. Last one, Deontay Johnson traded to Carolina, so that means Pickens is kind of by himself here. He's
Which I
the
love.
wide he was the wide receiver 45 in 2023. Deontay Johnson, that being
But Josh,
um
Arthur Smith wasn't going to use him anyways. He
Yes,
needs
that is
his
true.
Mr. Irrelevant from whatever community college to run an over route for a 75-yard touchdown for no reason once in the season. That's his game plan.
So, so I mean, obviously with the Arthur Smith discussion there, here's my fear with Deontay Johnson. I don't know how well he fits with Dave Canales' system. And I will even say that for Adam Thielen as well. They
Mhm.
so far Dave Canales has liked going vertical. I mean, that's both with Godwin, that was with Evans, and then even DK and Tyler Lockett the year before. Thielen and Deontay don't feel like that.
Well,
And
Deontay
maybe,
more so than Thielen. Like Thielen used to
yeah,
be, but not anymore. Deontay, I can argue, I think is a better fit than Thielen. I don't know that I'd say it's the best fit he could have gotten, but he can be an over the top kind of guy. I don't know. I like that they have signed offensive line help. I think Deontay Johnson giving another weapon to Bryce Young, you're going to get a better evaluation of him this year with that combination of O line, an upgrade at wide receiver. If I'm them, I'm probably trying to get somewhere into this first round to get a receiver. If not, it's not the end of the world if they have to settle for like a second round or third round guy.
I mean,
Um,
well,
just because of
let's
how deep it is. But
well, I'm gonna check what the earliest pick the Carolina Panthers
yeah, go
have
ahead and do that. While you're doing
because
that, Ryan, what do you think about Deontay Johnson on Carolina?
I I mean it's an upgrade at their wide receiver position, obviously. But I I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think they need to give him more weapons, but I think their first priority should have been O-line. Like you have draft a young wide receiver, whatever, but in this free agency, get him O-line help. He was
which they
running for
did.
his life. Yeah, and they did. He was running for his life all year last year. I think they really need to upgrade
Well, and that's what I'm saying. They're
more.
actually going to get a look at
But
Bryce.
I think, yeah, but I think giving him a solid target like Deontay Johnson, I think it is, like Ethan said, it's going to give him a better picture of who he is and how good of a passer he is.
Hmm.
So I really think that's the top two priorities for them right now this offseason is O-line help and their wide receivers and
Yeah, and
some sort of passing targets for him. Because I think Adam Thielen was doing great at the beginning of the year, and then for some reason he dropped off after like week 6 or 7.
it's because the O line fell
And
off a cliff.
yeah, so he was doing great and then dropped off. And what is it? They had was it Terrace Marshall? They had
Fell off a
other
cliff.
wide receivers there that did not cut the mustard. They
Poor
did
Well,
not.
Mingo.
it ended.
Poor
They did
Mingo.
not cut it. And they couldn't help Bryce Young out. And I think they do need those
But
targets. So I'm
at
glad
the
that
current
they
moment,
got it. I'm glad that they got a target for him. That's the big thing.
at the
So
current moment, they have the third best quarterback in the division. So
yeah,
now let's see if they can put things together.
Oh, would you put so wait, Bryce
Over
Young over
Derek
De
Carr.
All right, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Um, so that's wide receivers for you. Tight ends, not so much. Dalton Schultz resigns with Houston. Mike Gesicki to Cincinnati, I find to be a pretty sneaky, but not nothing
They like
crazy.
that one guy. What's his name? He's on my team. Hold on, I'll tell you who he is. I'll let you continue. I'll tell you who he
And
is.
then Irv Smith to Kansas City, which I'm not going to put much
I don't
stock
think
into.
that's a big
Tanner
deal. But
Hudson.
Yeah.
Tanner Hudson, and they like
Oh
Tanner.
yeah. They also I think re-signed Drew Sample or something. So I think they just want variety at this point.
That's
Um,
Cincy.
but really I want to go to O-line. I want there's three teams I really want to talk about here. Actually, four teams. So we talked about Titans not understanding what they're doing. They signed Lloyd Cushenberry, the center, and signed Sadiq Charles. So they're rebuilding that O line. Jets are one of the other big
Jets made a
players.
big upgrade.
Yep, Tyrone Smith, John Simpson traded for Morgan Moses.
Yep.
Uh, they're going to make sure Aaron Rodgers lasts more than four plays.
Aaron Rodgers is not going to tear his Achilles again this year
Yep.
unless an act of God happens.
And then Rams beef up
Wouldn't put it past
interior.
him.
Well, as long as
Yep.
they don't chop block on a the play he got injured on was so poorly designed and poorly executed that it made me angry.
Also, the MetLife is the ultimate turf monster.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, that's where we all decide the 2026 World Cup final should be played at.
Oh,
Should have been Dallas, but that's all I'll say.
I hope all
Um,
those other countries don't like their players having knee ligaments.
yeah, which actually is a fun. Ironically, they have to replace the turf.
Yeah.
That's what's funny about it.
Was that
Uh,
literally the consideration? You have to replace the turf
no,
before?
well, so soccer has banned all turf.
Oh,
So
okay. That's awesome.
if the US ever wanted, which now they're getting in 2026, a North America World Cup hosting, they have any football stadiums with turf. Goodbye. It's grass now.
Thank you, Jesus. Anyways, let's continue back to offensive
Yeah.
line quickly.
So Titans. We talked about the Jets. Giants are beefing up the O line. They signed a swing tackle and they signed a guard for about 30 mil. So
Yeah.
they're
Yeah. For
still
what?
beefing it up.
For
Yeah,
what? And we'll continue.
that's a great question. Rams signed two guards. They re-signed their right guard. They signed Jonah Jackson. They steal him from the Lions, so I find that to be a little bit interesting. Panthers signed Robert Hunt to $100 million contract, which that still kind of blows my mind a little bit. But sometimes you have to overpay. That's kind of free agency in a nutshell. There's a lot of defense, but we're not going to talk about that
Yeah, we're not gonna
for
go.
the
Well,
Dynasty
and there's still a
podcast.
lot of defensive guys left,
But
like Chase
I
Young.
have
Chase
that
Young
is
is
true. Chase Young's still available. There's quite a few. My question for you guys: what has been your fantasy favorite signing this free agency period
Ooh. For my team or in general?
in general? And by favorite,
Man,
it does not have to be the biggest
Uh,
impact because that's the next question.
that's tough. Oh, so just the best free agent signing?
Just your favorite. Just your favorite.
Oh, this is going to sound like it's biased, but I think my favorite one so far is Kirk because I think everything about it makes sense and it made a team significantly better. Does that
I
make sense?
actually agree with that. Even though I'm a Vikings fan and we lost Kirk,
I
I agree with like that made your guys' team so much better. And I love like the fantasy impact that it's gonna have on Atlanta. Like they can't just focus on the run anymore because they have Kirk Cousins at the helm. He's going to be throwing over their heads. So I love it. I like that trade. Not the trade, but the acquisition.
so shockingly, mine was also Kirk as far as a favorite. I just think it just elevates the offense. I mean, I agree with all what you guys said. All right. So now that's our favorite signing. What do you think is the best signing?
That's tough.
I will tell you, I'll give you my answer right off the bat. It's Joe Mixon.
Yeah. Yep. I think Damian, what is it? What is his
Yeah,
name?
Damian Pierce.
Damian Pierce. Yep. Damian Pierce. I don't think he was cutting it. And I think Singletary was a good fill-in.
Band-Aid, really.
It was a band-aid. It was. But I think that they needed a solid presence in that RB room that could step in and do the job. So I think the acquisition of Mixon was huge for that Houston offense.
And I
Yeah.
mean, if it's not that, what I'm looking at, from what I'm looking at, it could also be Pittman. I think
I
is what
like
I'm.
that. I like that. That's a good call. All right. Who do you think
That
was
or
the worst?
Josh Jacobs. I'd say Pittman or Josh
Oh,
Jacobs after
Jacobs is
Sunday.
a good. Jacobs is a really good one.
One of those
Um,
three is going to be the.
okay. Before we get to we have I have two more questions for you. Who who was the worst signing that like you just don't like the fit, you don't like the contract? Who is
Austin
it?
Eckler to the Commanders.
Okay.
Yeah, that or Pollard
Or
to
Sam Darnold to be QB1 of the Vikings, if that actually plays out.
I will tell you mine is
God,
actually
I
Gabe
hope not.
Davis.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
M-
agree with Gabe Davis.
Yeah, Gabe Davis could.
Mine mine I think is Pollard to
Yeah, that could be
Tennessee.
another train
That
wreck.
could be
I
another
don't
one.
I
You could
don't
say Calvin
I
Ridley
don't
too.
fully I don't fully understand it. Pollard proved that he struggles in the lead back role last year, and I think adding him in with another another guy that can do the job.
Well, and
I
is
mean,
To play devil's
speaking of the
advocate,
Cowboys, is
yeah,
Deuce Vaughn going to lead the backfield for the Cowboys,
yeah,
or are
I
they
no.
don't know.
spreading?
Okay, so this is me watching a video from Brett Coleman, and I didn't realize this, but it makes a lot of sense. Um Jonathan Brooks, the Texas Longhorns running back coming out of the draft, tore his ACL kind of later in the year. The surgeon's the Cowboy surgeon.
Hmm,
Oh, that doesn't
So
sound like tampering.
at
it's
all.
not as far as the funny thing is that actually counts. That's legal. So, but if
And
anyone's
it
going to
might
have
be
a knowledge
legal,
on the
but it
medical,
sounds illegal. So,
yes,
what you talk about lawful but awful?
yes, 100%. Lawful but awful is the perfect description of that. I think that's probably what they're going to go for. Here's my thing with Tony Pollard, and he's becoming DJ Moore in Carolina for me.
Oh
Is that
no.
I'm not saying it's there. It's close because I don't think Mike McCarthy set up Tony Pollard in any position to succeed.
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm,
that the type of back Ryan Mike McCarthy wants is someone who is big, can get yards on his own. I don't think Tony Pollard is that. Like I think it
yeah,
was just something completely wrong. I personally wished like the Rams or like a Shanahan wide zone scheme like Miami would have gone for Tony Pollard because that's a perfect fit for him.
Yeah.
So that's where it's unfortunately technically from Cincinnati, Bryce Callahan is a part of the McVay tree, technically. But we've also seen Zach Taylor do things completely different compared to McVay. So that's the only thing that I can think of is maybe it is a wide zone scheme, and that's the only way I would be interested in Pollard. But for the most part, I would agree with you guys. It does kind of keep me like outside looking in. Now, the last question I have for you until we're done, who made the biggest impact on their fantasy stock for the better?
I mean, Kirk is obviously one.
Minus Kirk. Let's go minus Kirk here.
I mean, yes and no, because his fantasy stock was still up, like
Yeah.
way up on the Vikings. So I
Yeah, but
don't know, because remember
going to an
he was
upgraded
on a
team
person.
is going to help him.
Yeah, that's true, but
It
he was
might not be a
already on a squad.
substantial impact, but an impact for in
Yeah, see, I would
Okay.
see it as being minimal, the impact on his fantasy stock going up and
yeah,
down.
but
I,
the difference in
But
QB10 and QB7, even if it is
yeah,
just minimal, is pretty
I
so
impactful.
I think there's a bigger impact out there. I'll go with that. With
yeah,
Kirk, I understand Kirk is a good answer. I think there's a
I think
player who's signed that has a bigger impact on his
I
draft stock.
think Josh Jacobs.
Yeah,
I
Jacob,
think Josh
Yep,
Joe
Jacobs is
that's
Mixon,
one.
huge up on
Joe
his
Mixon,
on his fantasy
another.
stock.
To me, I think the one who shot it up the most is Swift. And the
Could
only reason why is even if you're going with Fields,
Mm,
even if you're going with Caleb Williams, they are going to run the ball, especially with Shane Waldron.
they
And
are.
if that's the case, then Swift is definitely within the realm of you should draft me around like running back 10 to 15
I
because
could I wouldn't be surprised if it happened, but I'm not expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
If
you
that
will
makes
just you rather just act surprised rather than trying to guess for it.
Hmm.
right.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
I'm of the
fair. I
same
think it's very
mindset.
fair. That's
I,
very
I
fair.
I'd be sitting there watching it like, you know what? This makes sense, but I never would have made that move with full confidence thinking that this was going to happen. Is kind of where I'd be in as a fantasy manager.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting that he was the first running back signed. So
Who
like there was a
has Swift?
plan in
Is it
place.
Michaela? Does Michaela have Swift?
Yes.
Our league is going to look so weird next year.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah,
very. Oh, hold on.
for sure.
Actually, I will double check that because actually, still that still might be.
But with that's an
No,
episode.
that is an episode. Who wants to take it out from
Crazy
here?
madness.
Josh, you go ahead and take it.
Alrighty. It's been a while, so I will try to remember everything. You can follow us on all platforms at Last Place FP. We're really trying to build YouTube up, so just keep on commenting. Tell us who your favorite free agent signing was over this period. I know there's been quite a few players, so there's definitely going to be quite a few answers for this. Gentlemen, thank you again for letting me hop on for this episode. I know I'm gonna rush back behind the scenes after this is done.
Yes,
But
run off to
again,
your little hidey hole.
yeah, I'll have to show you during the draft content. But you can find us Last Place FP on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast as well. Ethan, in the midst of all the free agency craziness, what can they never forget?
You can never forget that sometimes you're right, and
Sometimes you're the
sometimes you're
champion.
Josh losing in the fantasy football championship.
Yeah, you hate to see it. You hate to see
Wow,
it.
this wasn't
Freaking
about me. Dang.
CeeDee
But
Lamb,
also sometimes you're
Brees
Ryan.
Hall.
Sometimes you're also Ryan. But sometimes you're Josh losing the fantasy
Sometimes.
football championship.
Yeah, it's painful. All right.
Sometimes you're Ethan never even making it to a fantasy football championship.
He
I was in the
has.
championship the first year.
He was
Oh,
the
you
first
were?
year.
Oh, the first year. That's right. That's right. That's right. I'm sorry, I forgot
Oh,
about that.
Hey, put
swing
some
and a
respect on my
miss.
name. I think who you're looking for. Oh no, no.
No, sometimes you're Ryan.
Yeah, sometimes you're Ryan. Yeah, that's it. He just proved the point. All
Yeah.
right, we'll see you.
See ya. Have a good one, everybody, and we will see y'all next week.